Okay, next up we have Mike and Nick, who are going to present us a utopian future.
There we go.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. Before we start, just want to give a quick shout out to ETHStaker for putting on an incredible event. It's events like this that makes Ethereum so special. I'm Nick. This is my partner Mike. We're the founders of Noet, and we're helping to build a decentralized infrastructure for a utopian future.
All right, so I promise this is going to be a relatively positive presentation, but first we have to get a hard truth out there. For one, the Ethereum vision is fully inclusive. Anyone in the world should be able to use the network to transfer value in the same way that the internet has been used to transfer information for 50 years now. However, the current design of Ethereum's infrastructure layer, mostly staking, but things like L2 sequencing, building, searching, the list goes on. Unfortunately, it has become very exclusionary in practice. So today, we're going to discuss the work being done to change that second statement to be just a little bit more utopian.
We live in a semi-centralized world that is more fragile than we like to admit. If an operator with thousands of validators is slashed, the Web3 world collectively panics. That's not acceptable. Ethereum can't take on the world's financial needs if value can be erased so quickly. So how do we end up here? Simply put, the ecosystem is highly competitive and requires considerable technical skill, high levels of capitalization, and business development efforts to succeed. Such significant barriers to entry make it difficult for decentralized actors to thrive. I'd like to note that this is not unique to Ethereum or proof of stake. Bitcoin miners face the same pressures as well. In the world we live in today, these barriers to entry are the cause for centralization. As an example, because permissionlessness is susceptible to Sybil attacks, most permissionless projects rely on cryptoeconomic security, also known as bonding, to align incentives. This means that you need considerable assets to participate. Not very inclusive, is it? Obviously, Ethereum is not a dystopia, but it is imperfect. Ethereum needs diversity to reinforce its credible neutrality, which means we need more variety in governance mechanisms, client software implementations, operator geographic distribution, and operator types to fulfill Ethereum's vision.
So for just a moment, let's just imagine that these barriers don't exist. Let's imagine a beautiful future, a utopia, if you will. What would that look like? So for one, providing infrastructure is still critical, so it would still be rewarded really well. But what if, instead of paying specialized, centralized entities, we could include absolutely everyone? To borrow one of Vitalik's dreams, the average person should be able to run a validator on their phone, perhaps without even realizing it. In this world, the barriers that currently exist today are gone. Anyone can help out, no matter how little time or knowledge you have. And in this world, stakers don't need to be professional engineers with high availability setups, complex, expensive hardware, because in this world, decentralized individuals outcompete centralized entities. In short, the utopian vision is one where Web3 infrastructure is instead subjected to decentralizing forces.
So let's talk about what's being done to get us to utopia, and one problem that still remains unsolved. First, trust requirements are the most obvious problem with Web3 infrastructure, and so they get a lot of attention. Ethereum's core devs are implementing several key upgrades like EIPs 7002 and 4788, and app layer innovations like DVT and ZK Oracle systems are attacking this problem higher up the stack. When it comes to education, community organizations like Ethereum Foundation and ETHStaker are doing a fantastic job providing documentation and guidance to new users. On the hardware front, there are plenty of things to look forward to here, like state expiry and data availability sampling. However, this still leaves us with the problem of fragmentation, which remains as the biggest unsolved problem in Web3 infra. As of now, there simply isn't a simple way for projects to hook into a large decentralized group of operators without building their own community from scratch. This is particularly problematic for projects that can't afford to incentivize operators heavily, yet still have the same critical needs. From the other side, operators have to actively seek out projects to provide their services. And participation is complex and costly because the operator tooling for every project is unique. To fix this, we need a way for the average person to automatically hook into new opportunities. What we need is a holistic technology platform to connect operators with projects. In conclusion, someone needs to build real-world relationships between protocols and operators. And, even more importantly, we need an extensible, open standard for anyone to benefit from this effort. Of course, it's critical that this remains free and open so that we don't create a single sort of centralized entity that's controlling things in between.
Of course, this is exactly what Noet is building. We made the problem statement, now we're going to solve it. So an open platform to connect node operators with projects, that's what Noet ultimately represents. If you're a node operator, you can work with Noet to discover new opportunities to earn. And if you're a project looking for decentralized infrastructure, Noet can help you connect to a large network of very capable, totally decentralized operators.
So there are a couple of things we want to do to empower the individual operator. So considering all the centralized forces we previously mentioned, we think it's critical to build a platform that caters specifically to the needs of independent operators, connecting them to protocols and services in need of their skills and compute. I want to reiterate, we're focused on independent operators and small and medium business entities, not globally scaled professional staking providers. We see a number of opportunities to empower these smaller entities. First, independent operators generally don't have industry reach or the ability to source capital at scale. We aim to build relationships with protocols, businesses, and service providers on behalf of our operator base. Our desire is to unlock access to for those who don't have the resources to compete. Second, independent operators cannot build differentiated products with partners via custom smart contracts or technical integrations. Nor do they have the resources or professionalized audits. Noet is building a robust engineering organization to serve this need. Finally, independent operators lack the necessary tooling and automation infrastructure to easily access new opportunities. This limits the potential world of operator participation and artificially restricts operator supply. While many ad hoc efforts are underway across the ecosystem to improve the situation more generally, we hope to accelerate this and build our own infrastructure if necessary.
So this is the simplified architecture that we have for the operator experience on Noet. We're still in the early stages of building out our vision, but we ultimately want to create a platform where anyone can connect to new opportunities to grow their operation further. You can see all those different opportunities down here, but realistically, the list is endless. We could keep going. You'll see a little bit more, a little further down, but the idea is that after installing Hyperdrive, our node operator client, this client software will automatically connect you to packages that hook you into new opportunities, either with or without your consent, depending on how you want to set it up. Obviously, you're going to have to make sure you trust the repositories that you hook into if you want to do it automatically. But the vision is that straightforward. You install a single piece of free and open source software, and suddenly you're earning more with the exact same setup. As an example, let's say I'm a small home staker with just a few validators, and I'm making a little bit of ETH, all well and good. But I bought a big disk drive for this. Currently, you need that. Once state expiry is implemented, I now have far more storage capability than I actually need in order to do my validation duties. So simply by downloading Hyperdrive, now I can hook into a way to fill up my drive with data from protocols like IPFS. We were speaking to Portal earlier. There's a lot of data availability solutions out there that need storage and are willing to pay for it. So over time, my home operation is now providing numerous services and earning multiple revenue streams from the same device. Nothing has changed except for I've installed Hyperdrive. New opportunity, no downside. The only step that I had to take was installing this thing, going through the very minimal installation process. So for some opportunities, it won't be that automatic, obviously. If you want to participate in something that requires user input, You will have to explicitly install that package and run through the installation, but it's as simple as a single command. The idea is it should be just like a package manager. We expect that anything that has manual setup steps are probably going to provide higher benefits. And some of the projects that we're working on are good examples of that. We'll get to that in a little bit. But the idea is that you can discover these packages on the official NodeSet package repository website, or you could just, if you don't trust us for whatever reason, you could go to some fork or make your own, or again, the possibilities are supposed to be endless here.
So on the organizational side, organizations face their own hurdles when it comes to putting together a decentralized strategy for their products. First, there is the challenge of access. There simply isn't a way to plug in to large groups of decentralized node operators. As things currently stand, each and every organization has to essentially scream into the void and hope that someone hears them. If they're lucky enough to get operator interest, they have to think about community building and ongoing management of that community. If you don't have the luxury of time to build such a robust community, protocols are stuck in the unenviable position of enticing operators with large incentive programs and substantial budgets. And of course, there's absolutely no guarantee of success. We expect platform lock to be a growing issue that many new protocols start to face when they come to market. And our goal is to really eliminate this pain and make it straightforward to technically integrate the NodeSet platform and its growing population of operators with your protocol or service.
We should maybe mention that we have currently about 100 node operators, and we haven't really advertised it all, mostly because it's easy to say, hey, join, we'll give you free ETH.
That's right. And
it's not a scam, I promise. You don't have to send us 1 ETH. We're not going to send you 2 back or whatever. We don't know Vitalik, although we'd like to.
That's right.
But this will grow. Thousands of node operators.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to be sort of plugged into the Rocketbowl community, and we think that many of the node operators there will be more than happy to participate in a system like this. And frankly, when it comes down to it, the bottom line is that we want to enable protocols to focus on doing what they do best, and really that's building products that delight their users, not focus on recruitment.
Yeah. So right now, NodeSet itself is the only entity building for our platform. But this is the other side of the equation from the architecture that I was talking about before. It's the same architecture, just sort of the flipped version of it. We expect the value of this approach to be pretty obvious to every project. If you need a set of operators for your network or your protocol, it should be easy to just define the requirements and then immediately establish those relationships. Just build a NodeSet package or reach out to us, we'll help you build it. As an example, let's say I'm a game. I'm building a game that needs some distributed infrastructure, or I'd like it to be distributed, ideally, so that it doesn't go down and all my players hate me. I have some incentives to attract operators, but my requirements are easy. Although they're easy, they're relatively specific. They need to store a few kilobytes of data. Okay, that's not so bad. But they also need to respond to requests within 100 milliseconds. Otherwise, the state is stale, and that's no longer useful. The game has moved on at that point. So today, I would have to use a centralized provider. I have no other option, because sourcing multiple operators with the ability to provide that kind of service and writing tooling for all of them and supporting that, it's totally infeasible. So I just have to accept as a game, okay, maybe if I'm Activision Blizzard, then I can, figure it out. But realistically, every game is going to be using AWS or some kind of, centralized architecture, and they just have to accept downtime as part of the equation. But with NodeSet, everything changes. I can create a simple NodeSet package, in this case just a few lines of code to define my requirements, and the incentives provided. If you don't send your request back within 100 milliseconds, you don't get paid. Simple as that. And you get paid just a little bit every time you do. It's very simple, straightforward. I'll write this thing up, I'll publish that package to a repository, and any operators who meet my requirements will automatically come online and start providing services.
So moving on to some things we're currently working on. As of now, we have 2 major projects in development, and we're very excited for both of them. Primarily, our focus right now is on the staking realm, but as we've discussed, and as we're showing here, the possibilities are endless. So first, coming up hopefully in December, we'll be providing integrations for Stakewise v3 vault administrators. who are interested in decentralizing the operation of their vaults. The first example of this is a partnership with Gravita, which we expect to be live by the end of this year. So if you haven't heard of them, Gravita is a DeFi protocol that allows you to borrow a stable coin against your LSTs. And with the Stakewise V3 vault we're building for them, we're really excited that we can provide them a new and unique way to integrate a new type of collateral onto their platform, which benefits from the security and the redundancy of nodes as operators. And our second project, which is our primary project that we're working on, is called Constellation. Constellation, in short, is sort of a layer 2 protocol on top of Rocket Pool. We've seen some of the challenges that Rocket Pool's had with scaling due to the bond requirements, and we think that we can leverage the entire Rocket Pool node operator base through our system to basically grow Rocket Pool far more aggressively, enabling it to compete in the market against projects like Lido. So this is a pretty large project, and we've been investing in it heavily. We're hoping to have that on testnet early next year with the mainnet release soon thereafter. So obviously it's very early days for us, but we'd love for you to check out our website, stop by our Discord, or you can follow us on Twitter and stay up to date. As for the future, like I said before, plenty of possibilities. We've been having so many fantastic conversations with teams here over the last 3 or 4 days, and we've been getting a lot of interest in partnering in the future. Obviously, we can't promise anything in particular, and even if we don't build all of these things ourselves, we're really looking forward to working with others as they begin to build on top of us in the future. So yeah, we're very excited.
So we believe in a totally cooperative approach because ultimately we all own ETH, or at least probably most of the people in this room and watching the stream. Everyone benefits when a project in this space succeeds, so we should make more projects succeed. If you saw that last slide and thought, man, I'd really like to have my logo on that list, well, I have some good news. You can. If you're a project looking for decentralized infrastructure to power your next great idea, we want to help you, and we would love to talk to you. And on the other side of the equation, if you're a node operator, you have really no reason not to join. You like earning more ETH. I mentioned this before. It's not a scam, I promise. I'm going to go way out there. If you're a dev out there that thinks, oh, I'm going to watch them and I'm going to fork it and I'm going to do it, awesome. Please, because that's what open source software is about. And the thing is that when we build something that makes the entire ecosystem more successful, everyone benefits. Remember, we all own ETH, right? So please, we want to talk to you. Doesn't matter who you are. It's really about prioritization, ultimately. We have a small team. We're trying to grow. So please, come talk to us.
And thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Questions?
Hello. How can Noet help Rocket Pool with the bond requirement and scalability?
Sure. So we are building some liquid staking tokens for that protocol. Basically, the node operator bond consists currently of 8 Ether and 2.4 ETH worth of RPL. The liquid staking deposit pools will ingest assets and then distribute it to existing node operators who we've onboarded and vetted. That way that they can basically spin up additional validators without having to provide a bond themselves.
One really nice thing about this that if you're technical in nature, you might have heard of the nothing at stake problem. That's generally the issue when you want to scale something by just giving people assets and have them stake, because why wouldn't they just grief it, and slash it unintentionally or something like that? The nice benefit of this system is that everything we're building is non-custodial. We have essentially a rule that we don't build anything that's not a smart contract. So you'll know in advance, obviously, what you're agreeing to. But beyond that, operators have a lot more to gain by being part of the network and earning more in the future. And so if they were to get slashed, we have hundreds of node operators. It would just be a very, very tiny portion. And they don't really have a great incentive to do that unless they want to be really mean. And they would never be able to earn anything for the future. And like we've mentioned, there are a lot of projects on the horizon. So your earnings will grow over time. Many people say, oh, there's nothing at stake though, but there is actually. It's your future income. So if you decide to go against your own interests, then you can, but the network isn't harmed very much when that happens. So I felt like that's an important addendum. A lot of people think like, oh, there's you're doing something that should be illegal, right? But it's not.
Hey there. Congratulations. That looks really, really cool. So from DAppNode, we're no strangers to free open source software that people can use to deploy whatever infrastructure it works. So definitely, let's talk right after. I didn't really know. I thought you were Rocket Pool guys. Why didn't we talk about this before? But
I've been meaning to find you actually for a long time. We talk to everybody and we can work with everybody, like I said. So it ends up back to back. But yeah, we'd love to chat.
Amazing.
It's a fair assumption. We are Rocket Pool guys at heart. So.
That's how we met. We were originally Rocket Pool node operators, and we just thought, oh wow, there needs to be more opportunity here.
My question was when dealing with this type of software, you mentioned that you would like to cater to small node operators and medium-sized node operators, but we kind of find like the same problem. Every time we try to target a specific user or limit a specific user from using DAppNode or incentivize a specific user from using DAppNode, it gets quite complicated to make it not gameable. So what are your ideas on trying to limit the participation of big pools? Because if it's profitable, they will.
So this is something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I referenced the game idea. I used to be a game developer. I know game theory really well. You're right, ultimately. So the only way to fix this is having a permissioned set of node operators. And so there's what we talked about today. Node set doesn't necessarily have to be a fully permissioned set of node operators, but it can be. So if you're a game developer, that example I gave earlier, and you only want to have small independent people operate with you, then you could individually permission these node operators yourself. One thing that NodeSet is doing for our Constellation on top of Rocket Pool is we are independently verifying that these are, we're Sybil checking everybody. We're going through that whole process. Not every project that exists on top of NodeSet has to do that. Some of them could be permissionless, but it's really that's the whole. The idea of the system is that it's highly flexible. So the person who wants the operators defines their requirements, and they say, if I'm willing to go through the effort to gate it and stop these people, ultimately you can't know if a Lido node operator signs up to your service and they just hide it from you, right? There's not really much you can do about it. Right.
Make a shell.
Yeah.
Shell identity, but in the back end, just
exactly. Yeah, but
there's one thing I'd like to add there. Our goal here is to really scale horizontally as aggressively as possible, which means that the total allocation of validators per entity ideally goes down over time. And so for a large Lido operator, is it worth spending the time to try and game our processes and systems to receive 15 validators, 20 validators, maybe 15 validators across 4 different protocols for a total of 60 or something. And of course, they're only getting a sliver of the commissions. So is that worth their time? We can do things like that.
Even if they decide it is because they just want to do it, ultimately, this is only for the validation side of things that we have this centralization concern, right? A really, really large existing node operation can provide ZK proving services just as well as an independent operator. So ultimately, like I said, it's sort of up to the requirements of the individual application as to what they want to do to gate the node operator community. And obviously NodeSet, one of the services that we can provide is we do this sort of checking of individual node operators, and you can use that set if you want. We can go all the way from permissionless all the way through to KYC and do all sorts of crazy things. If you really need that for your large institutional ETF, I have to say that because that's the buzzword now, right? Whatever it is, we can help out with that, but ultimately you can also define those requirements too. It's sort of what I'm saying is a non-answer, which is it's up to you as the application developer to decide what requirements you want. But we also aim to, from our position as people developing the tool set and products for this tool set first, give anyone who wants to build on top of it the necessary tools they need in order to define those requirements more explicitly. And, so we'll have an account infrastructure that people can give us as much information as they want or not if they don't trust us, and that might be passed on to people who want to use the system to gate their applications and things like that, or not. It's really up to both sides of the equation. And the key here is that we can't really step in the middle. And we referenced this very briefly, but one thing that Noet is not trying to do is be another centralized point of failure for the chain. It needs to be something that accelerates everybody on both sides of the equation, and not something that is just another sort of thing that everybody has to be starting to be worried about. When we come to these conferences, is Noet too big? We want to design away from that from the start.
It's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay, thank you so much. Next talk is at 1, so feel free to grab some food.
Thank you.